perfectly carried out than the law of another carried out perfectly. One does not incur sin when does the duty ordained by one's own nature. Shri Krishna said the same thing in this verse once earlier in the Gita. And if people have broken, changed or misinterpreted any verse, Shri Krishna in the Gita, then this verse most of all. Shri Krishna says it's better to carry out one's own dharma imperfectly than to carry out the dharma of another perfectly. The reason for this is that one does not incur sin when one does the dharma ordained by one's own nature. If one carries out their own dharma, then they do not incur sin. God only says one thing in this verse. We consider Swadharma labels that we give to determine religions. It is not that. Swadharma is our inbuilt program. Swadharma is what we've been created to do. Swadharma is that activity in which our well-being is. One should only do this. God said earlier in the Gita that paradharmo bhavayaha, to follow another's law is perilous. Other people's dharmas are frightening. The way in which God has made you, you should move forward in that way and attain your greatness. Today, what is happening in society is that every person is making efforts to try and be like someone else. They are not satisfied with who they are. They have not accepted who they are. They wish to become like other people. This results in turbulence. Chhaganlal wishes to become like Maganlal, and Maganlal wishes to become like Kachralal. The funny thing is that Kachralal wishes to become like Chhaganlal. We wish to become like someone else, and somebody else wishes to become like us. We see happiness in somebody else's life, and somebody else's happiness is in our life. Then what if we become happy with what we are right now? Then all the running around will stop. The reason for this is that once we have formed a habit of looking for happiness outside, and once we have begun putting someone else's dharma into practice, or after reaching somewhere else, we see yet another person's dharma, and then we reach the state and we keep thinking that I will not go here, rather I'll go there, I will not go there, rather I'll go here, and this is sin. It is said by God in this verse that if a person performs karma actions ordained by their nature, then the person does not incur sin. The reason for this is that God has not made us like anyone else. Look how unique God is. Everything that God creates in this world is unique. God has made us unique and there is nobody like us. Why then do we keep repeating ourselves? Why? In reality, is good. What was good is becoming like someone else, then God would have made us like them. When we try to make efforts to become like other people, then we challenge God's feelings, God's originality, and God's creativity. We're saying that God, you do not even know how to make me in reality. I should have been made like this. Until now, nobody has attained that by doing this. Each and every person has an built-in process. The first thing to do is to find out what substance there is inside you. There is something unique about us. There are some things that only we can do. If we do them, then we get bliss from doing them, and by carrying them out, we become of help for the development of society. Each and every person has this. First of all, one should find this. After finding this, one should develop it. You can only develop the seed that is in you, and the more material that is in you. If you let the raw material inside you just lie there, and you move around to find and procure the raw material inside others, then this is madness. One should do the duty ordained by their own nature. This does not mean the karma actions that one enjoys, but the karma actions from which one develops themselves. One should perform the karma actions that will lead to their development and society's development. And their karma actions should become worship from which you see the smile on the face of the Supreme Soul. One's karma action should be such that when they sit in front of God, then they feel that my God has become happy. And if you have conversations with God every day, then you feel like today God is happy. You would ask God that, God, did you like the karma that I performed? You have to create this relationship. You should perform these karmas, actions that make God happy. If you perform these karmas, then you will not incur sin, no matter what society says. Society's means of measuring things are different, and spirituality's means of measuring things are different. Even Valio, the highway bandit, could become the sage Valmiki. Society does not have Shraddha, faith in this matter, but spirituality has faith in this matter. Rishis have faith in the matter, and saints have faith in this matter. Nobody has faith in this, and even Valya's family did not have faith in this. But a saint had faith that you can become this. Valya could not understand the raw material inside him, and therefore needed a saint like Narad for this to say that this is lying inside you, go ahead and grasp it. Think about it, that the Supreme Soul that released Valya from picking up weapons, the same Supreme Truth is telling Arjun to pick up weapons in his hands and telling him to hold on to them. The ultimate reality is the same. The supreme power that is God is the same. The same Supreme Truth said through Narad to release Valya from weapons is said by Shri Krishna himself to Arjun to pick up the weapons, and that Arjun will not incur sin for doing so. The reason for this is that Valya's built-in program was different. It was not as if he was attaining peace by robbing people, he was living unhealthy by robbing people. He was living having been caught by sin. When Arjun is determined on leaving the battlefield, he is also caught by sin, and he is doing something unhealthily. He gives all the excuses in the first chapter, and says that if I leave the battlefield, then it will be very good. Yadi mam aprikaram ashratam shastrapanaya tatra sharanyahanyus tanme shatram bhavet. Far better would it be for me if the sons of Dhritarashtra, with weapons in hand, should slay me in battle, while I remain unresisting and unarmed. He said this, but Shri Krishna knew that if Arjun left the bow and arrow in the battlefield and fled, then he would begin hunting in the battlefield. This is because Arjun cannot go without this. On the other hand, once the weapons were released from Valya's hands, then they would be released forever. One does not incur sin by performing the duty ordained by one's nature. From the perspective of the Gita and from the perspective of Shri Krishna, Dharma is developing the unique capacity built inside you and using it for your own development, for the development of society and for the work of the Supreme Soul, and surrendering at the feet of the Supreme Soul. You can do whatever you need to do in order to achieve this, and you will not incur sin for it. It is said in this verse that one does not incur sin when one does the duty ordained by one's own nature. When people said that you should incur sin just for performing karma actions, Shri Krishna said that this is not the case and that you should do the duty ordained by your own nature. This is such a nice thing to say. There's a verse in the Vishnu Purana that says, Swadharma karma vimukta Krishna kushnati vadina tera dve Vishnu murdra dharma pratham janma yat pare. One who leaves his inbuilt dharma and his own duty and instead just chants Krishna, Krishna or Ram, Ram, such people are opposed to the Supreme Soul, and not only that, but they're foolish. The reason for this is that God himself took birth in order to fulfill his duty, dharma, and not only that, but God has given us birth to fulfill our dharma and our duty. Have I become that which the Supreme Soul has made me in the material world to become? Have I done anything in relation to that? It is even written in the Bible that not everyone that tells Christ the Lord, he who does the will of the Father shall enter into the kingdom of heaven. The same thing is said in this verse from the Vishnu Purana. Therefore it is the words of the Bible that if someone just goes around and says Jesus, Jesus, or if someone just goes around saying Jesus Christ's name, but does not put into conduct the wishes of the Supreme Soul, and does not apply the wishes of the Supreme Soul, then they shall not enter into the kingdom of God. Therefore, a person will only say that the name does not attain liberation. One who does God's work attains liberation. Shri Krishna says this, a very nice thing in this verse, that one does not incur sin when one does the duty ordained by one's own nature. One attains liberation through his own karma actions. The circumstances that we're in and the birth that we've got, there is a great plan of the Supreme Soul behind this Swadharma, our own inbuilt dharma. If one fulfills this, then there will be peace in their life. Not only that, but at the time of fulfilling the duty ordained by his own nature, the human being does not incur sin. When it is said in this verse that one does not incur sin, then this means that it is possible to incur sin after performing karma. Not only that, but only if there is sin while fulfilling one's Swadharma, our own inbuilt dharma, then God will have to say that you will not incur sin. Therefore, it is certainly going to look like a sin, and this is absolute true. Sometimes it so happens that even in fulfilling one's Swadharma, our own inbuilt dharma, one has to perform karma that look like sins. God clarifies this concept in the next verse.